Hello and welcome to Creative Photo Folks channel. I'm Hayley and today I'm giving you a glimpse behind the scenes at my creation process for Gone Dotty. So Gone Dotty was photographed during COVID, which as we know was a fairly traumatic time for most of us. But I also had this terrible stuff going on at work and this really traumatic stuff going on in my personal life. 2020 was most definitely not a good year in so many ways. So what I was thinking with this image, in a base level, I just wanted it to look like she had dots flying off her dress. And I was doing that to illustrate how to create floating objects as a tutorial for one of my courses, Exposing Illusions. But in essence, it's really about anxiety, which I had the worst anxiety of my life during this point, and I was just trying to illustrate kind of what it felt like to fracture into a million pieces. So that is what Gone Dotty is about. Now, to create it, I started off with a black background. And you might think that the dots in this image were actually created digitally, but they are all physical dots that I shot individually. So this is the floor, and let me just show you. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, we're going to be here all day if I count all these layers, but there's a lot of them. So let me just show you the initial photo of one of them. So this was my setup. I had a black backdrop and a couple of lights, I think, and then I just put the dots on the ground. So I had basically made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dots out of a piece of white cardboard, and I'd used different sized plates to create the circles. And so I essentially just shot lots and lots of dots in different shots, lay them on the ground and move them around, and just shot without moving my camera, obviously. And that just filled out the bottom. Then I made them black and white because there was a little bit of a yellow tone to the background, so I just wanted to get rid of that. Then I had photographed myself jumping. And so to capture the pose, I basically jumped over and over. From memory, my legs were absolutely killing me for a good week after. And I really just wanted it to look like she jumped up and the dots had flown off her dress. Now, there was something going on with my flashes this day. I couldn't get one of them to trigger every time. And so I ended up having one side of my body quite well lit and the other side not so well lit. And it's probably the worst thing about this photo is the way that she is lit. But you've got to work with what you've got, especially when you've spent hours moving dots around your garage. So I basically gave her a bit of contrast, darkened down a bit of her, brightened up a bit of her. Honestly, I don't know why I do these things. And darkened down her some more. I think at this point I was really leaning into the fact that she was lit from one side rather than trying to compensate because it's quite a severe line that would have been hard to fix. Then I changed her hair, used that from a different shot, quite a bit of leg there. So then I darkened that with the levels just so I didn't have to cut out her hair individually, and then brightened the front of her hair. Then I kind of made her a bit more red, darkened her hair a bit more, brightened her hair a bit more. This is why I don't like to show you my toning layers usually. And then we added the dots. And there's about 42 layers worth of these, I think. Oh no, we got to layer 70, so probably more. So the first set I put in were dots that I had thrown around. So I did some where I held them, which is these ones. I really wanted to have a couple that were big and close to camera. So if I can show you how that was shot, it's on its side. But yeah, you can just see me holding some dots around the edges. And then I did the thrown ones. So I basically threw white dots over and over and over and over. So to see what that looked like, obviously I've moved shots around to get the little bits I liked. See me throwing them. And it can be a little tricky to get the timing on this stuff right. I like that. It's very Dr. Seuss. Anyway, you've seen enough of that. So then I had to individually cut out every dot, place it in a position that I liked. Why? I don't know. Then I popped in these little dots because I wanted them to look like the ones that were closest to her that had just flown off the dress, and they were actually created with a Photoshop brush. Now I did a bit more toning to her. I took out some of that saturation and brightness from her dress and hair, added in a curves for a bit more contrast. So that was my toning overall. You can see that I have brightened up her hair, darkened down her dress, and affected the saturation. Then I added in even more little white dots just to fill in the gaps. And lastly, some final toning, which I don't actually love, but took out even more saturation, really upped the contrast, and that is Gone Dotty done. If you're interested in learning how to create these kinds of artworks yourself, because they are really fun, then I go deep into the process inside my course Exposing Illusions, where I'll teach you how to use Photoshop the fun way. Otherwise, see you next time.